Hello, dear listeners. TW here. Nate and I are having a bit of this was an unplanned discussion, but basically we're talking about the recent spate of high-quality prestige horror. There are 4 films in particular we're focusing on, but we are talking about some context, what came before, where is it going, all that sort of thing. So enjoy, and spoilers ahead. All right. Hello. Welcome back, Nate.
Thank you again, yet again, always. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I think we're in the same spot we were last time we did a podcast. We've been very mobile. I'm kind of forgetting.
We move around, we keep things fresh.
Yeah, the sloth has gone from my desk.
Yeah, I was just looking for it.
Yeah, I'm sorry if it's time for it to move. The cactus is out as well.
He's gone to live on a farm upstate.
The good news is the desk is still a mess, but this time it's full of movies or things that relate to movies. So I figure it's on brand. If nothing else.
It's very in character.
Yeah, exactly. Right. This wasn't part of the original plan. We actually had a different idea for today's discussion, which will be postponed.
What was that original idea? It was a while ago.
We were going to talk about best films since COVID.
Oh, that's right. I still want to do that.
That's a fascinating idea. I'm keen on that. But instead, we're going to talk something way out of our wheelhouse. Just kidding.
But sometimes the idea finds you, hey.
That's right.
And that was this.
Yeah. What we're talking horror movies, but being very, very specific in scope.
Yeah.
So what prompted this conversation?
I think what specifically prompted it is the last 4 movies I've seen at the cinema have been what I would call prestige horror movies, or part of the horror renaissance. And I think at least 2 of these movies are movies that are going to be on a lot of people's radar when they do their 2026. I mean, I'm assuming people are big nerds like us, and they do a 2026 retrospective.
Yes.
But it does seem that for the last decade and some change, that elevated horror movies have been a consistent source of talent, good movies, and interesting premises.
Yeah. We'll get into some specifics, but I like that idea, the idea of prestige horror, so-called, having sort of driven because horror's never gone away, of course.
No.
And there's always be cheapies and all the rest of it.
And I think horror is like a recession-proof genre. It's very characteristically, horror movies are very cheap to make. That's not what this is. These movies are, with some exceptions, are not cheap to make. They're not the annual release slop like the slasher movies from the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. This is not like Saw or Scream or
most of the franchises from the 80s.
Yeah, basically. Final Destination, those movies that come out, they send one out, or Paranormal Activity. They've been going for. These are not those movies that come out. They send one out every Halloween, but they are written and directed by interns, and they make enough to cover their very meager budget.
These days, it'd be done on AI, probably. Which will be another topic too. There's some of these films connect with the world around them in pretty profound ways, which horror. Good horror usually does.
Yeah, horror is a genre that is pretty well placed to be social commentary. I think science fiction and horror are the 2 genres that are best at that, because they do position the audience to ask why, whereas other genres like fantasy, romance, all that sort of stuff, they don't necessarily. We take a lot of things as granted without analyzing or pulling them apart. But yeah, those 2 genres do lend themselves very well to thematic depth of storytelling.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot, because sometimes they're just a product of their time. And so, for example, the slashers of the 80s being, again, we're often talking Hollywood, so American-centric, during the Reagan era. Oh, that's kind of interesting. And so even though the films themselves, not all of them were saying something about that, but they nevertheless were a product of their time.
Yeah.
What we're talking about here is they're probably a product of their time, but they are definitely saying something.
Yeah, that's part of this movement, is that these movies, almost by virtue of their being included in the movement, they are social commentary. Yeah. I can't think of any that have not had a a larger theme that was heavily baked into their premise, plot, script, characterization, all that sort of stuff. They're all about something. It's not just about the scare.
From the ground up. Yeah.
Yeah.
As compared to,
Well, compare that to like
we'll put something.
Final Destination
Yeah.
or one of those slasher.
And
multi-
you say,
yeah.
you say, oh, yeah, no, it totally represents this, and you can tell where it's a bit ham-fisted. But no,
Yeah.
these are intelligent, well made, and we're also going to be talking about the filmmakers themselves a little bit. This new movement. My contention is that we are dealing with a new wave of Hollywood, and the best comparison I can think of is the 60s and 70s new wave that gave us people like Spielberg. It's not playing out the same way though. So
No.
I do want to come back to that, and as is my want, because we're focusing especially on films out this year, what I cheekily called Halloween in June. I don't think all of them were released in June, but whatever. So I like to frame things in context, as you probably gathered from every single conversation we've had.
Yeah.
So framing it in what I think is the best comparison from the 60s and 70s will come up too. Shall we run through the 4 films? What have we chosen to talk about to be our main focus?
Okay.
Foci.
So, the first horror movie I saw this year was Hokum. And it was quite good. You haven't seen it.
Correct. It wasn't on my radar, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I'll just this pile of things on my desk. Oh look, there's a Christopher Nolan film. I wonder if that will come up.
No,
be relevant soon.
No,
there's nothing
surely
Christopher
not.
Nolan happen. Have you heard of this? Oddity.
It's
the second feature from the chap who
I was
made
just looking
Hokum.
up his name. Damien McCarthy, is it?
Yeah, I can't even.
I literally read it like less than a minute ago, and I've forgotten about it. Damien McCarthy.
Yeah, this case is so dark I can't actually read the names. Yeah, so the Oddity was his second feature.
Yeah,
and I picked this up, and I made a mention on Blue Sky. Directed at Darren Mooney from Second Wind, and I said, "This is your fault, Darren," because he recommended this. Because someone asked him what Irish, he being Irish, what Irish films can you recommend? And one of them was Oddity.
Yeah, right.
And so I sent him a message saying, "It's your fault. My bank account hurts because you keep recommending movies." And he actually replied. He said,
"Oh, nice."
He said, "Enjoy."
Yeah. Took responsibility for his actions. That's good.
That's right.
Yeah.
and glossed over the damage to my my bank account because he knew I was in for a good ride.
Yeah, right. I have not seen Oddity, but like Hokum was very, very good.
Well, this is what I've heard. So he's an Irish filmmaker.
Yep.
And there's even examples of his films using Irish language and so on. So very, very Irish and psychological horror.
Yeah.
So I absolutely am keen. I want to get all 3 of his films.
Yeah.
So please don't spoil.
No, I won't say. And I genuinely, I don't think I have much to say about Hokum other than it's very good. It's a very traditional haunted house story, with a great central performance by Adam Scott. Adam Scott only does good work. It seems he's really enjoying his post-Severance boom, and it's well earned. It's just very well made. It's I don't know how well it fits into this horror renaissance that we're discussing, if only for the fact that this movie could have been made in the 70s. It's not strictly a social commentary. It is just a very, very well made horror movie in the classic literary style.
Right. Because when I hear haunted house film, my eyes tend to glaze over because they have been done to death.
Yeah.
They're from early Hollywood, in fact, the silent era. The Cat and the Canary from, I want to say 1926, I think, something like that.
Take your word for it.
And it's been redone a few times.
Yeah.
And it really kicked it off. So in the silent era, haunted house movies were a thing.
Yeah.
They've never gone away. Roger Corman in the 60s doing his Edgar Allan Poe cycle with Vincent Price and others. And even what's some of those new ones? Not Insidious. What's the other one? Based on real people, but
is that not Insidious?
No, Insidious is an offshoot.
The Conjuring.
The Conjuring. There we
go.
Oh
yeah.
All of these names blend together for me, but
The
Conjuring is that, but in a sort of over the top Hollywood kind of way. And so when you say a really, really good one, I say, oh, that's good.
Mm.
Because if not, it's snoozeville because it's
Yeah.
been done so many times. You either do it incredibly well or don't touch it.
Yeah, and I think it's a show of confidence from Damien McCarthy that he wanted to do this because, like, on paper, it doesn't sound particularly thrilling, but it's a beautiful movie. It's very Irish as well. Incredible sense of place created. You do get an idea of how the hotel is laid out, which is just through the craft of direction. Yeah, I recommend it very, very highly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So perhaps in this context, it's about the idea that there are the ones we're about to talk about are quite different and new premise,
Yeah.
new ideas, and you can still do the old ones, the old stories and the old premise in this context and still succeed. Because I gather it was quite well received too, right? It was quite
very
successful. Not as big as the other ones we're about to talk about, but
well, I mean, with the exception of the immediately next one.
yeah.
But no, I think it's very telling. If I'm shaping a narrative through my conversation with you now, it is very telling that this movie got a wide cinematic release.
That's a good point. So people are willing to throw some money at horror films,
like a mid-budget horror movie. It's not low budget.
And if you'd asked me a few years ago, where is the home of, well, we'll use the term that we use now, prestige horror, I would have said, well, it's perfect for streaming because you can, because it's low risk. That's the point. So you can make a movie for 5, 10, maybe 20 million. And if Netflix themselves are making it, they're happy to burn 20 million on something. But instead, here they are. They're all popping up in cinema, and I think which is great.
It does kind of, there's two things going on there. It's audiences want to go out to watch horror movies.
Yes.
It's a social...
Yes.
It's a social activity. You go with friends or with a partner or whoever, and it's part of a different experience. You don't just throw them on at home to watch them generally. And I think the second thing that's happening there is that this is not what our streamers want to invest in. The streamers are kind of, they go big or go home, it seems.
Netflix
which is
in particular. It feels like that model is breaking down.
Oh, absolutely.
Or I know, I will go further. I would say it seems clear that model never worked.
Yeah.
And just because you had infinity dollars to spend, you didn't mind. Like Bezos he said there's going to be another Masters of the Universe, another He-Man film. This first one bombed.
Yeah. It wasn't cheap to make. I mean, they've had good success with Project Hail Mary.
Yes.
But that movie, like, I don't know how you replicate that without just getting those people back again. It's kind of, that movie is a product of the talent involved, not the machinery behind it.
Yeah. And what's telling is that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the 4 films we're talking about, none of them come from, for example, Netflix or Amazon. At least I don't think so. So the streaming companies aren't paying for this, aren't funding it. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So it's on my wish list. Hokum, there's pre-orders available, so I'll think about that.
Yeah.
Because my wish list gets longer, not shorter.
Yeah.
As the stack of things on my desk grows higher. Next film, what are we talking about? Film number 2.
Okay. So the next movie I want to talk about, it's not necessarily the next movie I saw. It's Leviticus.
Yeah.
And I will probably need to introduce this to the audience.
Yeah, it's probably less known than the... well, certainly the next 2 we're going to talk about.
So it's an Australian film. I don't know anything about the people involved, which is a real shame because it's also pretty good.
They have done some work before that. They have had success in the horror realm before.
Yeah.
So how about I do a quick rundown?
Yes, please.
So I saw the trailer for it when I saw one of the other films actually, and mentioned it to you, and then you saw it and you said it was pretty good. So it is an Australian coming of age teen drama, gay romance film.
Yep.
But also, oh no, there's a monster, basically.
Yeah.
So it's doing those other things, and I would say doing them quite well. It is a coming of age story.
Yeah.
It is how can so the high school students, how can these boys who are gay navigate this space, and the society around them is basically is monstrous metaphor, very obviously. The
Yeah.
monster represents I guess, the external responses to them
Yeah,
and who they
and
are.
yeah, yes, it does. There's also it's kind of it's fueling internal shame and
Mm.
self-loathing and all that sort of stuff. So um as a gay film, it's very good.
Yes.
It does a lot to portray the impact that acceptance or rejection from the community can have on young gay men. Um, which that is, I would say, inarguably this movie's greatest strength. It's a very
Yeah.
well filmed movie. The director, who I got to mention because he does good work,
Yeah.
Adrian Chirella. Uh, yeah, it's, I think, the biggest of these four movies. It's my least favorite, if only because it doesn't own that it's a horror movie particularly well.
Mm.
Um,
It's horror light,
yeah,
which is an interesting thing to say when I think about the showdown in the toilet, which is a pretty full on scene.
yeah,
It's quite gory
yep,
so. I'd say the problem with Leviticus, to sell it, is if you are it's horror light,
yeah.
but if you are upset by horror, I definitely wouldn't. It's still horror enough that
Yeah,
I would
there's
go, ooh.
enough. Yeah, it's like that. But it is just horrifying in one or two scenes.
Yeah, so it's enough to turn off people who don't like horror,
Yeah,
but people who really want horror probably don't get enough. So
yeah,
it sits in that middle ground.
yeah,
And what do you do instead? You flood it with um, message and themes, which I think it does well enough.
yeah. And
Um,
there's a certain level of horror to uh, just the social drama that the movie is portraying. That
Definitely,
is horrific.
yeah.
Um,
And
yeah,
the lead has so it focuses on one boy in particular,
mm,
and he basically at the start of the film discovers that this other boy's hanging around him is actually interested. They start a little bit of a secret relationship, but then he sees that he's with another boy. So
yeah,
our main character then becomes jealous,
yeah,
and that's a wonderful scene, by the way. I mean, you talk about sense of place, because I don't think there were any sets built, or maybe that sort of factory thing that they burned
yeah.
down, is some of that was on a set, but they use real locations.
Yeah, and it's very well shot in
It,
that way. It's very evocative of Australian rural
yeah,
living.
it's that sort of regional center, regional town.
Yeah,
So it's like big town, small city.
yeah, like
Um,
chain link fences.
yeah, the old houses with the tiles on the roof and all
Yeah,
the rest.
yeah,
I was looking at them going, these are. I mean, if they were sets, I'm confident they weren't. But if they
yeah,
were sets,
yeah.
they've
The
nailed the
attention to detail
authenticity.
is pretty phenomenal.
Outstanding.
Yeah,
And where it stood out the most for me is out the back, when our main character sees his boyfriend with another boy,
yeah,
and you got the old hills hoist, or
yeah,
clothesline to use
yeah.
if you don't
For
have
the
grey,
international listeners.
or if you don't have grey hair, you may not know that.
Yeah,
But the clothesline that spins in the center of the yard in Australian invention.
mm.
All it is it's spinning around. You got towels and sheets, and it's used to obscure,
Yeah,
so that it's hinted you can't quite see. Oh, now you can.
yeah,
But then also he's not seen while looking at them. And that's all it is. It's just a camera, three people, and some clothing that's
yeah.
moving. And that sort of stuff
It's very well done.
it's very, very well done. It's so simple, but very, very well done. And it's done again to great effect later,
Yeah,
when we see the boyfriend now talking as if someone's there, but
yeah,
someone's not
and
really there.
yeah, it's frustrating how much is obscured, but it's all
Purposefully
pardon me.
enough.
Yeah, it's all by design.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
some of that stuff is just really good. We don't have the budget to do anything spectacular. It's a $3 million budget,
yeah,
which for an Australian low budget film is pretty. That's getting up there a
yeah,
little bit by American standards. That's very, very low. But for context, like the Australian box office, if you have a hit, you maybe make 20 million at the Australian box office.
yeah,
So even the big A-list films only make about 20 million.
yeah.
So
And I like, unfortunately, I don't see this movie making that big impact. only because I cannot think of a worse time to be releasing an Australian horror movie.
Yeah, against these other two.
Yeah, there are some big
getting
fish in the
drowned.
water.
It has
at
been
the
getting
moment.
considering it has been getting some really good attention.
Yep.
Feedback's been great. It did well at the awards that it's been nominated. It certainly made its money because it was purchased outright for I think 4 or 5 million. So
That's really good.
So for international distribution.
Yeah.
So basically, they make the budget back with profit, and then there'll be some international distribution, but they still get the Australian box office. So even if they only get 1 million or something from the box office, that's just the cream on top. So it hasn't broken through to the high echelons, but I think it's still done pretty well.
And there have been, well, at least what was it called? The Australian horror film from a couple of years ago with the hand. Was that
Bring Her Back?
No, that was same directors. Their one before that. It might be Talk to Me.
Yeah.
Is it Talk to Me?
I think so.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar. I didn't see that one, but
yeah,
the same.
So there
people.
is, where Australia we are developing a cottage industry or a lineage of we can do this.
Yeah. And apparently one of the reasons for that is because post-COVID, this fella set up a company to help distribute films. And he used to work with, I want to say 20th Century Fox or something in the pre-Disney days. But he came back to Australia and said, I want to set this company up and help revive Australian cinema post-COVID.
Okay.
So you got somebody who knows how to distribute films, because Australian films are basically poisoned because our box office is so small. So you even get situations where people like with Jack Thompson, who, with younger generation, nobody knows who he is, but he was our first movie star, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it was back in the 60s and 70s. And even films he's in, they would have to pre-sell it because you would say to the Australian cinema companies, can you give us money so we can actually make the film?
Yeah.
And that's how they go, oh, this is the new business model. Like, you are trying to run this thing on scraps.
Yeah.
So if you don't get an international interest, you're dead in the water.
Yeah, which is where like government funding and all that sort of stuff would and should be helping.
Yes,
because otherwise we don't have an industry.
That's right. And streaming does help because you can say to someone like Netflix, will you buy this thing for international rights for a few $1 million? And Netflix kind of trips over that kind of money on its way to work.
Yeah.
But for an Australian film, it's like, oh, good, that covers our budget.
Yeah.
And then you make extra sales elsewhere. So it exists in this we're in this very awkward middle ground where our box office is big enough that you kind of go, well, we need to do something Australian. So if you're making an Australian film, it's worthwhile. Let's connect with our Australian-ness.
Yeah.
But we're not big enough to fully fund films, generally speaking.
Yeah.
So it's justifying the existence or proving again. So we've had a few in the past year or two. We've had a few of these. I think they would all qualify as prestige horror.
I would say, yeah.
And they've all been pretty successful. They're getting international renown, which is fantastic. So it exists in that lineage, but also the fact that it's got something to say, like the idea that you've got these boys it sets up very early on. They're in a very conservative town.
Yeah.
Which I tell you what, growing up in regional Queensland, this is real.
Yeah.
I was from a town of 5,000. There were about 14 churches.
Yeah.
Very, very, and they take it to the next level because they have a somewhat disturbing scene of what is functionally gay conversion therapy, which has no scientific basis. It has been outlawed in many parts of the world.
Yeah.
It is harmful. It is proven to be harmful, so that shouldn't be a controversial statement. But basically, the preacher, I just call him the preacher, he kind of is.
Yeah.
He does kind of a reverse exorcism where he basically detaches a demon to them, basically.
Yeah.
This is never explicitly stated.
No, the way the film handles that is really quite good.
Yes. You don't know what's happening initially.
Yeah. And it does allow for a late film reveal that is not so much a twist, but it does change things.
Yeah. So the idea that you see, once this demon is attached to you, you see the person that you're most interested in, and you think it's them.
Yeah.
And they will engage with you intimately.
Yeah.
But then they're also scary, and that's supposed to make you afraid of being gay. It's like electroshock therapy.
Yeah.
See that thing you like? Think about it, zap.
Yeah.
Now, so you're going to associate pain with the thing you love.
Yeah.
In this case, fear. They talk about fear. Fear's good for you. You need fear,
Yeah.
his mother says later.
Yeah.
But the demon goes too far. It actually murders people.
Yeah.
So the people that are doing it seem to know
that, and that's the
and
twist I was
care.
alluding to, is that like
Yeah.
his mum knows what's happening to him.
And that's when the other shoe drops and you go,
she sucks.
Yeah.
This is not like she's deluded and she's bought into this church. It's like, no, she is a pretty malignant presence in this young boy's life.
Yeah.
Which is brutal. It's terrifying.
Because she's supposed to be the one safe place. There's one moment where, because the idea, this conceit was a little tricky for me, but the idea that it only attacks you when you're by yourself. So then I'm going, well, then surely wouldn't he have, the very first night he went to bed, wouldn't he have been attacked? And it's like, what are the rules here? That was a little distracting.
And I think if there's one thing that Leviticus suffers from, it's that It Follows exists. It Follows it's one of the very first of this wave of elevated prestige horror movies. Came out in 2015, I think. The premise of It Follows is you catch a demon the way you catch an STD. Like you sleep with someone and it gets passed on to you. And the rules of it are incredibly simple. Only you can see it. Or people who have been infected by it, I think. Only you can see it, and it just walks directly towards you. It's not fast, but it's not dumb. And so you just need to be constantly on alert for...
hence the constant tension, which works well in a horror film.
It's a very well done horror film, and it is a neater premise than Leviticus has.
Yeah, Leviticus was, and to be clear, this didn't derail the film for me, but I noticed it as I was watching it. I only watched it a few days ago, so it's a little bit fresh. So, for example, like when they sort of becomes a vampire at one point, where it's like, I got to be invited in, but then later he can kind of just bash through a door anyway. So I'm just like, what was stopping the creature from just bashing his way in anyway? If
it had established that the demon got a little bit of like sadistic pleasure from teasing, and that would play into like the turning people off sexual engagement. Like, it could have been written into it, I think. So that the demon had like a sense of pleasure that it was getting from messing with the
bit of sadism.
Which
would have been very on brand with what this thing is. So it's not just, I'm here to do a job. I like the job.
I love this. This is but otherwise, like, it's a very, very good film. Great performances from the two young male leads.
Very good. Actually, do you know his mother played Alice in the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland films?
Mia. I heard it's like a Polish. Wazakowska, I think it is.
Like she was. Because I'm looking at it going, I know her from somewhere, and she was actually one of the producers of the film.
I saw that,
So it feels like very much that you've got relatively young filmmakers, and then some people like this distribution company I'm referring to, and then one actor saying, I'll help produce. So it felt like to get this thing made, some people had to pull some levers.
And I think that's kind of how this strain of film has been working for the last, let's call it 12 years, is that there are a lot of established talent, a lot of established people in the industry who want to be a part of this. This is the way that they can help young people. The old studios and the old distributors are they are just, as I said before, they're go big or go home at this point. They are just releasing franchise movies with $200,000 budgets, and they're not interested in young creatives. They want proven entities.
And what they used to do when it was when home video was where you could, there were some movies where you say, oh, it was made for direct to video, as a bit of an insult. But the point is that was a good way to make films. And I'm reminded of films like back in the 80s and 90s where big companies would make small companies so that you wouldn't associate, for example, you go Disney would make a company because we don't want the Disney name attached to this thing, but then that would enable the big studios to fund these smaller films, and that's kind of gone by the wayside. And you think of like even Mel Brooks, who set up his own company, so Elephant Man could be made because he didn't want Mel Brooks attached to what was definitely not a very Mel Brooks film. So that sort of thing, it's not that it's not happening, but it's not happening as much as it used to.
No, because there's no Disney offshoot for their mid-budget whatevers. They just have Marvel and they have Star Wars and they have their
And
like
now Fox.
animated and the big studios, and there's only a few of them left. They they're just releasing under their own banners.
Yeah, that's right. So it feels like people have to get involved to help them, and gee, I'm glad they are. Um, I that will kind of lead us into, let's see if we can connect these two together, because I want to mention this connection to the 60s 70s
Yeah, please.
cinema, and I think that'll lead in well to the next couple of films.
All right, take me on a journey.
Right, here we go. So my contention is that when we talk, so the early parts of this movement you're referring to, sort of 10 to 12 years ago, you end up with, you've got, for example, the Blumhouse model. But it wasn't just Blumhouse, but there was a range of companies that cottoned onto the fact that you could spend 5 to 10 million on a movie and then it would do very well. So, for example, the Blumhouse film Get Out is one of those, not the film, but it was a part of that movement where you've got Jordan Peele, you've got these new directors, these new ideas, and we wouldn't have this post-COVID wave of horror films if it wasn't for this pre-COVID.
No, I think
show that
Get Out is a turning point.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of the post turn for Blumhouse. I think their turn, it's not even horror. Their turn is Whiplash.
Yeah, that's true. But there was a real sort of lower to mid budget.
Yeah.
So my contention is that part was, so when those are all around about 2015 roughly.
Get Out's 2017, so it's a couple years afterwards. A24 is the big. That is the,
which will come back in a moment.
That's the big swing and dong in this in this scene, is when A24 starts to recognize that we can make money and have like impact in the industry by making these mid-budget prestige horror movies. We're off to the races, and
then movie follows in their wake as well.
And A24's first foray into this ground is Under the Skin, which is it's an established UK director,
right?
Making a mid-budget horror movie with Scarlett Johansson. But it doesn't make a ton of money. It breaks even though, but
it's enough to.
It's
give them
such
confidence.
a critical darling,
right?
Hugely influential. And then a couple years later, you have Eggers's The Witch.
Yes,
and that's a big deal for
we can't have this conversation without mentioning Eggers, but I feel that era, that let's say 2015-ish, a bit before, a bit after, that is I'm drawing a direct parallel between 1960s cinema, because when we talk about new wave Hollywood, we tend to, and there's a book on the shelf over there that says Easy Rider to Raging Bull.
So I'm looking at it right now.
So a gift from a fellow podcasting guest, Kate.
Oh yeah,
cleaned out her books, and there's a couple of her books in my collection actually.
Yeah, right.
She's only got several hundred books.
She's quite literate, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. More so than me, because I've mostly got the movies. But anyway, so that the contention of that book is that New Hollywood starts with Easy Rider. It's not naive to what led up to that, mind you.
That's it.
But
it's
that's kind of framed it.
That's where you can see that the change has taken place.
And it's planted with, so once Easy Rider hits and it's massive, it's a really big hit, then the course was set. But what led up to it was people like Roger Corman, who he did Hell's Angels with some of the same people. And because Easy Rider was going to be a Roger Corman production, fell apart because one of the people involved happened to be a genuine psychopath. But anyway, so you've got films like that, and The Trip. So it is in LSD, The Trip. So it really tapped in at the time. So in hindsight, once Easy Rider came out, and then you saw the 70s come in with Francis Ford Coppola, George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, et al., then you go back and go, oh yeah, it definitely happened with Easy Rider, but there were these films in the 60s that were setting the scene. In the horror context, you had low budget like Vincent Price in The Last Man on Earth, so based on the I Am Legend tale. And you had, of course, Romero's Zombies, 1968, Night of the Living Dead, all that sort of stuff. So my contention is that those films pre-COVID that we're just referring to is that mid-60s, before Easy Rider, and maybe in hindsight we can pin, so maybe it's Get Out, for example, was the Easy Rider.
Yeah, I'd say I like that idea. I think there are a few movies before it's like I think the turning point is about 2017. There's two movies that come out in 2017 that I think are kind of like kicking the door down.
Yes.
But there's a couple of movies that knock on the door before 2017.
That's a very good analogy. I like that.
So yeah, Under the Skin is one. The Babadook is another.
Definitely.
And an Australian movie that it's a horror movie, but it is a
very successful.
Very successful. But also it's a social commentary. It is a horror movie, but it's also about how difficult it is to raise an autistic child.
Yep.
And the damage that does to your relationship and your mental health.
Yeah. It does that beautifully.
Yeah.
So, and again, monster is metaphor.
And that's kind of what these movies are all about, is that the horror is always a metaphor. It's not just the monster, it's not just the unknown. It's always standing in for something.
And I'd go so far as to say, unlike the conversation that Sam and I had, where around the Paul Verhoeven films, where if you miss the satire, the films can still work by themselves. Whereas these horror films, I feel like if you're not paying attention to the themes, you are missing part of the significant
and I think
journey.
That's a lot of the audience then come out, like if they're not ready for, this is not just a slasher movie, this is not just a annual release slot movie.
Yeah.
They come out of these thinking like, that's boring.
Yeah.
Because it's superficially they look like art house movies. They're filmed like like they were being made in the 70s.
Yeah, and low body count. Like go back to The Witch, for example, very low body count. It blows out right at the end.
Yeah.
But you have basically one death in what's functionally a prologue, and then nothing for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And it's just that rising building tension until we have a bit of a bloodbath at the end. So, so my contention would be that the 1969 was probably 2017, if you see where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
But then there's a pause, of course, COVID slowed things down. So instead of launching straight into, because then you say, well, with all these directors, where was our couple of years later, you're supposed to have Jaws, or for example.
Yeah, I think we've had our Jaws.
I think now we have, but I think COVID slowed it down.
It slowed it down, but I think as well, this is kind of like, it's spread over more people.
Definitely, because it really was 4 or 5 people and 1 or 2 companies.
And we are even seeing now, like this movement is creating, and it is pushing a lot of talent into the mainstream.
Oh, yes.
Jordan Peele is maybe the most obvious one.
Yes. He's gone a bit quiet recently, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's been working behind the scenes. He's trying to, I think he's getting his Twilight Zone show off the ground. Okay. Maybe he's already done it and it just hasn't worked. But yeah, he benefited enormously. So I'll go back. The 2 movies that I think kick the door open for this, Get Out is big obvious one. Second is Hereditary. And those 2 movies come out in 2017 and are very, very successful and well received.
Another Australian connection there with Hereditary,
Tony Collette.
Yeah, she does an amazing job in that.
Yeah. Australia, we're pretty overrepresented in this thing.
We are.
Which, given how smaller we are in terms of population and cultural impact, normally, we have.
It's interesting that we're tapping into horror. Australia has a long lineage of horror. When so-called New Hollywood started, that coincided with the Australian revamp. Because the industry was dead in the 50s and it started to come back in the 60s due to government funding. Yeah. And then in the 70s, you could basically do what you want and the government you can write off your losses to encourage development. And that's when we started to get experimental films, many of which were horror. But you also get things like Mad Max to come out of that, for example. So we've got this long lineage, but I'm not surprised. But I still think you're right. We're punching above our weight a bit. But to bring it back to the films we want to talk about here, my contention would be probably, because you don't know until later, but I think that when we talk about Obsession and the Backrooms, I think that's our Jaws moment. That's where you go, well, because these films are massive. This was these basically unprecedented as far as budget, expense, and expectation versus outcome. Yeah, and that there's enough room in the ecosystem for both of these movies to be in the top 10. Like normally, when top 10 grossing for the year, you don't normally get, because one might crush the other. Yeah, they are competitors. They're direct competitors. These are both movies that are being made by a young, unproven talent. Spread by positive word of mouth and like viral intrigue, I guess. Real grassroots here. I mean, these should be cannibalizing each other. Yeah, because you've got a 20-year-old and I think a 26-year-old. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to the Backrooms, yeah, a 20-year-old so-called YouTuber um, who comes out with a very powerful feature film.
Yep.
Now, just a quick word on that. This concept of what is a YouTuber is worth mentioning just briefly.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
normally when you say YouTuber, it's like someone who talks about films or gaming or whatever.
I'm thinking of the most obnoxious content creator type.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas these are filmmakers who happen to put their things on YouTube.
This
That's a
kid
distinction.
I know his first name is Kane because of course it's Kane. He's he's a Gen Z or whatever.
Yeah.
They're all named Kane. But he's a young filmmaker. He always has been.
Yeah.
It's just his distribution method has been YouTube.
Yeah, and in the say 90s, it was like Kevin Smith and VHS. And then in the 70s, you had
Super 8 filmmakers.
Right, and the midnight, like Eraserhead by David Lynch was get it out there to the college crowds, midnight showings and stuff like that. So it's just a different way to do it. I guess the difference with him though is Backrooms has a connection from the internet because from what I can get, I've not gone down the rabbit hole. But there's lots of liminal space. So we'll get to definitions in a moment. But liminal space, creepy short videos that are made,
creepy pasta stories.
He tapped into that and did his own. And the stuff that he made in that space turned into the feature film. So, but there was this huge array of people just going, I'm going to make my own version of this, and he didn't try to tap into those because I gather there was too much of it.
Yeah,
but
it
it's
is
just a thing that existed.
He's participated in those, like, Reddit discussion threads, all that sort of stuff, and seen that like there is something in this, that there's the shared experience of finding liminal spaces unsettling.
Yeah. So what is liminal space, just for definition?
Oh man, liminal space is like an unoccupied or strange collective space that is abandoned. Yeah,
basically. So normally you'd see people interacting in this space, and just simply by being devoid of action in life, it becomes creepy.
Yeah, so it's like empty train stations is a good one. Empty bus terminals, empty office complexes, empty schools.
Yeah, and I think in the Backrooms, there's even one of the characters says it's so weird because normally you see people in the spaces. You don't need to tell us why it's weird, but thanks anyway.
Yeah.
But that's basically the premise, and so people can just go, oh look, there's a place that's going to be torn down, and apparently the one that triggered this phenomenon was a furniture store, which is why it's a furniture store in the film.
It stands to reason, and I think that this movie, Backrooms. I mean, I think the impression I get is that I've enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than you did.
Yeah.
I think it has a lot to say about why we have that shared cultural experience of finding those places creepy.
Yes.
That it does very subtly and well.
Yep. And it develops characters well, because our main the furniture store owner who goes into, so basically walks through a wall and finds this space.
Yeah, he does like Homer 3D from The Simpsons.
He goes in there, and the whole thing is very obviously a metaphor for his troubles. Like he's trapped in his own mind, and he hates his ex-wife, and he's just full of anger and rage.
He's trapped into reliving the same conversations over and over again, because he feels indignant.
Yeah.
And he feels people have done him wrong. Yeah,
he feels he's been wronged, and that may be true, but the point is, I mean, we only have his rather emotional response, so we don't know. But nevertheless, he feels it's real. Yeah. Can't move on. Then you have our second protagonist, and I like the idea that it kind of shifts protagonist partway through.
Yeah, I do too.
His therapist enters it, and she's carrying childhood trauma because her mum was a shut-in, basically. Yeah. And I was getting some very weapons vibes there. By
the newspaper over the windows. But she is also reliving the same experiences over and over again from her childhood. Yeah. And the movie does have something to say about, like, every time you relive these experiences, you are making a copy of a copy of a copy. Yes. And that's not authentic.
And it's not healthy.
Yeah, it's not healthy.
So when she ultimately confronts him inside the space, and she basically says, okay, you can stay here. That's fine. Yeah. And stay here, meaning you can wallow in the past.
Yeah, you can continue litigating an argument that's already taken place.
Yeah, but I'd like to go, and it's her way of getting out. She, as a therapist, she wouldn't buy that, but she's trying to survive. Yeah, because she's now under threat from him. So he becomes one of the villains in a way.
Yeah.
So the first of all, this is very superficial, but I've just got to point this out because it really bothered me. Are you familiar with this concept or this thing called the creaky door sound effect?
No, you're gonna have to tell me more. I don't know anything
Right.
about that.
If you spend too much time on the internet like I do, especially watching a lot of red letter media,
Yeah.
because they do their skits with the Mr. Plinkett and all that.
Yeah, I know.
And they use these stock sound effects.
Yeah.
So they talk about it when they hear stock sound effects is very distracting.
Yeah.
So they have things like the creaky door, and it's almost as egregious as the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you know it,
Yeah. Okay.
it will bother you.
Yeah.
If you don't, it's probably fine.
I've got a couple of like those stock sound things that I've seen. I've
Smash
heard
pottery.
The smash pottery that Wet Hot American Summer uses for comedy.
Yes, and so the fact that 20 years ago it was being done as a joke,
Yeah,
tells you something. And there is a video of him being asked, of the director being asked, "Did you use the creaky door sound effect?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I might have done 3 times."
Yeah. Okay.
Not for a laugh though, and I'm going. It was distracting.
Yeah, fair enough. I didn't notice, but I can see that being something.
If you know it, then
if you know,
it bothers you.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. A couple of little things that I'd like to mention is it felt a little bit video gamey. The fact that it's handheld, so like first person perspective.
Yeah.
And that's not as a good or bad. It's just something I noticed. But there was one part I noticed in the opening scene. You have, I guess it's functionally a prologue where somebody goes in and is killed by an unseen monster.
Yeah, and which is kind of, it's, I think, intentionally evocative of the YouTube shorts, because that's what they are. Is like they're the handheld, the grainy VHS footage.
It's worth mentioning. It's all set around 1990, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So a nice little period piece there, I guess. Yeah. And what I noticed is as he's running, and I'm getting a video game sense. Are you familiar with this concept in game design called turn left or always go left?
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
It's like that is the inclination.
Yeah, game designers make it that way. So if there's lots of doors and you're not sure where to go, and this could be a horror game, a first-person shooter, it doesn't matter. If all else fails, just go left. So if you're given 2 options, always go left.
Okay.
And there's one point where he comes to a T-junction, and he looks left, and I'm thinking to myself, go left, and he goes right, gets trapped, and gets killed.
Yeah.
And I'm just going, I mean, that could be a coincidence, but I'm going, I wonder if they're channeling something there.
I'm sure there's Backrooms games that people that are out there. And like, I think my understanding is, not knowing much about this kind of online culture removed of the film, is a lot of the set piece rooms in the film are recreations of levels from the video games, or discrete rooms from the video games, all that sort of stuff.
There could be something there.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a loving recreation of stuff that's been done online.
Yeah, and I came into this not having seen any of that, so it was just a film for me. Yeah, and in fairness to the film, I think it does work. You don't need that stuff to enjoy it.
I agree as well. It's a good introduction to this stuff, and it's all you need. I felt no compulsion to go and see the YouTube things, or like a Donnie Darko. Oh, I need this to make sense to me. I need to find more lore.
It absolutely works. And they don't try to explain all of it, which is handy.
Yeah.
So my criticisms of the film, where it fell down for me a little bit.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm still saying this in context of I very much like this film.
Yeah.
It's a good film.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of things that didn't quite work. I think it took too long to get to the parts that made it interesting. The parts that made it interesting to me were the psychological exploration of the characters. And can it be interesting and tense to have somebody walking slowly around a room? Yes. Have patience and do that.
Yeah.
Respect your audience. Yes. But it's at some point is like, you should have got moving. I think the first 45 minutes should have been trimmed by maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because not because it's like, oh, I'm bored, I need somebody to die or whatever, but the interesting part to me was this is a metaphor for what these characters are going through, and it takes a little too long to get there.
Yeah.
And as a result, I think the film ends a little bit abruptly. So
yes, I agree with that.
So I reckon save that 5 minutes for the end, where you get to see, I felt the same thing with Leviticus, where it's like, if you just had one more kill at the end where maybe the preacher man gets his comeuppance or something, and you can just have one more gory blowout, without going full Hollywood and so people are flying around the room.
Yeah,
and
we don't need a sky laser or anything like
Yeah,
that.
right.
Yeah.
Because even Hollywood horror films do that kind of thing
Yeah.
to their detriment. And I think that's what it needed here, because I kind of went, oh, that was a final confrontation?
And I think the movie could have had that if it dealt with I don't know whether it's the last shot, but it's one of the last shots of the recreation, the Backrooms recreation of our female protagonist.
Yes. And
which is meant to be kind of horrific, I think. Because it's the first time. Oh, no, it's not the first time, but we see that someone we've seen throughout the movie is now kind of mutilated by being recreated over and over again.
Yeah, because they talk about, it's like every time you remember it, you remember it less accurately. And they use the metaphor of trying to explain a dog to a blind person.
Yeah.
And if they then recreated it, you get something
It'd be wrong, yeah.
And that's why you see several people in here. So it's like, you see, I think it's three characters that at first we think are monsters, but they're just kind of hanging out.
Yeah.
And the real person is outside, and here you've got a misremembered version. Yeah. They look great, by the way. Like 3 sets of eyes, too many fingers, and I'm going, there's definitely an AI conversation going on here.
If not prior to the movie being made, certainly in retrospect, it's like it's fortunate context given that this movie does have something to say about like the authenticity of something being recreated without any guidance.
Yeah, or artistic ideas. Like the rooms have just taken something and copied it with no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, they don't understand it properly, so they're just like, oh, this is about right, which is like, yeah, that's AI.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely that. And what's weird is that just before this film, just after it launched, A24, this is an A24 film, said they're going into Google's AI, and AI is going to take jobs away behind the scenes. So things like storyboard and pre-visualization.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
the director of this film, twist. Kane Parsons, maybe
that's him.
It is him. Has said like he's avidly against AI. He thinks AI is not useful in the creative process, and he is happy with this movie being seen as a commentary against AI. Yeah,
and it's just a little ironic that the company that made it or funded it, that investment as the film was being released.
That to me, that's such a big studio move where it's like, no, we just make movies. We don't like them.
Yeah.
We don't
Which
understand
is weird
them.
to come from A24.
That's it.
But to give A24 credit, this feels like an auteur-driven film. If this was, we've pumped, because it's a $10 million budget for a first-time filmmaker.
It's huge.
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
As far as these films go, these kinds of films get anywhere between generally 5 and say 20 million.
Yeah.
And they generally sit around the $5 to $10 million mark.
Yeah.
So it's getting up there for budget, but it didn't feel like there were too many notes from the studio.
No, I think he was just given free rein to do what he wanted. And I mean, that's great that A24 recognized that he had a vision.
And it worked. It's made over $300 million. 10 million turns into 300 million.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that both of the movies that we're going to talk, so we're talking about Backrooms now, we're going to talk about Obsession in a second.
Yeah.
Both these movies have outgrossed the most recent Star Wars movie.
Yeah, which is very, very interesting.
I think that's very telling.
Yeah. I contest that the turning point was when Endgame came out. It's like that was the end of those big budget, big franchise films as far as being safe, bankable creations.
If I'm Disney, I'm nervous as hell about the Avengers movie coming out at the end of the year.
Yeah, because it'll make money, but it won't make the $2 billion that Endgame made.
Yeah, it might not crack $1 billion. The
Which
Marvel
means
brand
they
value,
lose money. They put so much money into this. They need, I would estimate, $1 billion to break even.
Yeah, they need it to be the biggest hit of the year probably.
Yeah.
And the Marvel brand has decreased in value so much in the 10 years.
And Star Wars next year is the 50th anniversary of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So for the first Star Wars film to come out in, I think, 7 years.
The cinematic release.
Yeah. And you release the Blandy McBland corporate film.
Yeah, a TV show adaptation.
Cares.
Yeah.
No, even Star Wars fans are going, don't care.
Well, I think, and that's part of it as well. It's Star Wars. I mean, how this is on brand for us. Yeah. We're talking horror movies, but let's also talk about how Star Wars is being mismanaged.
Yes.
Star Wars is now, it's 3 generations of people.
Yeah.
And they all liked very different things.
Imitation of an imitation?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so it's very difficult for Disney to appeal to Star Wars fans now because Star Wars fans are a huge disparate group of people.
And this comes down to where the film industry is at the moment, because you have Backrooms and Obsession, you have basically Gen Z going out there going, these films are for us.
Yep.
And they're going, I don't care about who the hell is He-Man? Like he went out of fashion. He peaked when I was 0.
There is very literal
That's
retro
like
appeal.
1,000 years ago. Yeah. When I was born, He-Man was on the way down.
Like I like He-Man. I went to see that movie. It's pretty good.
It is a good movie, but it's a resoundingly positive, not 100%, but a very positive response.
Yeah.
But who is it for? It's designed for 50-year-olds.
Yeah.
Well, they're not going out to see adventure films.
No, they're not. Yeah.
And maybe bring their kids. Well, the kids are already adults.
And the kids,
This film needed to land 10 years ago.
Or it needed a marketing push that was not reliant on nostalgia.
Yep.
And it doesn't have that.
And the young ones, like, what's an equivalent for us? Like, if you were, when we were 20, right? So in the early 2000s, there would have been something.
Transformers is about right.
Yeah, but that was actually from our childhood. I'm talking about something like 40 years prior.
The Brady Bunch?
Well, there was a Brady Bunch movie in the early 2000s, but it was taking the mickey out.
Yeah,
it
was
taking the piss out of it.
And the Flintstones movies were the same.
Yeah, that's true. So I guess we did have our versions.
We had our version, but those were satires of a thing that was goofy in retrospect.
Yeah, and I guess there was a lot less competing for our attention than in the pre-streaming days. So I don't know. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, they did it, didn't they? Anyway, so honing back in on Backrooms and then moving on to Obsession.
Also worth to consider is like Brady Bunch and the Flintstones were like just in syndication as TV shows. They were still being shown on TV.
That's true.
And so they still had relevance. Whereas He-Man, they've tried to relaunch He-Man cartoons. And it's whatever. Anyway, not relevant to Obsession.
No, that's right. So I guess regarding Parsons, I'll just say I would love to see him making a Silent Hill film.
Yeah, I think that's the Backrooms' greatest strength is its creation and sustainment. What's the noun for the way it maintains tension?
Yeah,
because
and it's about sense of space. Like the space itself is where the horror comes from, and that's what Silent Hill is.
Yeah, Silent Hill is that.
Silent Hill is it's
a place that's weird, and you have to sit in it.
And it's personal. It's subjective. Yeah. So every person that goes to Silent Hill has a different experience.
Yeah.
For example, Silent Hill 2, the game, which is what the new movie was based on, but apparently botched.
Yeah, they always botch the Silent Hill films.
Well, I tried to get in and see it. It only lasted a week in cinemas here, so I couldn't even get in to see it. Right. Which is a little disappointing. But I remember there's a moment in the game. This is the PS2 era, and you're walking around, and this building's on fire, and you actually meet someone else who's also dealing with it, and your character says, "Why is everything on fire?" And she says, "What fire?" And that's a really subtle way of telling the player, like, oh, this is actually Silent Hill takes your problems and manifests them. Yeah. So James Sunderland in that game is tormented by a sort of sexy nurse because his dead wife was a nurse, and it represents his frustrated libido, but also his guilt around what happened between him and his wife and blah, blah, blah. Layers and layers and layers. It's
a very well made game, and the first couple of Silent Hill games are good psychological horror. And Backrooms is psychological.
It's exactly. I was thinking that it's definitely that. So I would love to see him do that. This fellow who made the new Silent Hill, he made previous ones. Like, slap his hands away from the franchise. He clearly doesn't know what he's doing.
But Silent Hill, the movies, they have that stink of slop to them. Same with like the Resident Evil movies prior to this new one coming out.
Like even the one good Silent Hill film.
The one with Rhoda Mitchell.
The one with Sean Bean in it. Is that?
Oh, I think that's it.
It's somewhere there in my collection. Yeah. It's here somewhere. in amongst my...
In the stacks?
Yeah, in amongst my chaos. So that's, I think, easily the best of the films.
Yeah.
And it's still only... all right.
It's all right, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely watchable.
Yeah.
But it's not spectacular.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite stick the landing on some of its ideas. But yeah, I'd love to see him get involved in that sort
Yeah,
of
I'd
thing.
rather him do that than I don't want a Backrooms sequel necessarily. I think this is a one
He's
movie
talking
premise.
he's talking about making another film set in the same universe, but not strictly speaking Backrooms. And I'm like, sure, why not?
Okay. Yeah.
Whereas the director of Obsession is going on to do a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film.
I thought his next film is filming currently, and it's another movie set in the same universe as Obsession.
Oh,
It's called Anything But Ghosts, I think.
Oh, I thought he'd sign up for. Or maybe I'm crossing wires. There's so many young
Maybe,
directors
I
here.
don't know.
Oh, by the way, I just wanted to mention real quickly in this context, another film came out earlier this year called Iron Lung, which I didn't see, but it's based on a computer game, and the fellow who makes it is a computer game YouTuber.
Yeah.
And he also did it. Also well received. Please cut it down by 10 minutes, though. That was the feedback I heard. So I haven't seen it, but I just want to mention there are multiple so-called YouTube young people involved here. And that's where Backrooms is. It's a young filmmaker, $750,000 film, makes over $300 million.
Yeah.
It is now the third most successful film in history as far as budget to profit ratio.
Is this Backrooms or Obsession?
Obsession.
Obsession. Yeah. Obsession is
Obsession, $750,000, and it the company that bought the rights to it, so Blumhouse pumped money into it as well. But it wasn't a Blumhouse idea from the beginning.
No.
The distributors after a film festival, because Obsession is well over a year old.
Yeah. It's
but it
it's
only got a
long
release.
gestating. And
yeah. But the company that bought it paid $14 million up front. So somebody said, I've got $750,000. And someone says, I will give you $14 million right now to distribute this.
Yeah.
That's an incredible turnaround. But then it makes over 300. Do you know any idea what the absolute number one film is for budget to profit ratio?
Oh, I'd have to say Blair Witch.
Yeah, it was.
It is Blair Witch?
Because it was like $60,000.
Yeah, that movie. But
no one will beat that.
No, you can't beat that because that was kind of I think it's from Roger Rabbit where like Donald Duck and Daffy Duck are like doing the dual pianos, that sort of thing. And then Daffy Duck's the sassy one. Daffy Duck, I think it's from, he blows himself up. Yeah. And as he's floating up to heaven, he said the only bad part about that trick is I can only do it once. And I think that's the deal with Blair Witch, is that trick only works once. Yeah, we've had found footage movies since then, and they're really cheap to make, but they don't have that cult of curiosity that develops around them.
Because the first Paranormal Activity, which you mentioned earlier, it's also in the top few for turnover, budget to whatever turnover. They're not great, those movies.
No, but I think for Blair Witch, people were like, "Oh, this is real."
Yeah, there was viral marketing, and bizarrely, when about that time the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake came out, and people were buying into that as, "Oh, this was based on a true story too," and it's like, it's really not.
No,
it's inspired by the fellow who also inspired Psycho, just a fellow that was a grave robber basically. Now whatever, it was a fragment of an idea. Yeah. So, anyway, Obsession. Boy, where do we start with Obsession? I guess I'll just mention briefly.
Yep.
I was listening to the Second Wind podcast, and Jack Packard said, I haven't slept properly in 2 days. And if you like horror movies, stop this podcast right now, go and see it. Oh, and I think that's the time I messaged possibly you and some others and was like, got to go see this movie. Ultimately saw it by myself. And
sorry about that.
I said, I think you'd already seen it, but no, you saw it after.
I went to see it, because my partner and I wanted to see it together, and we had plans to see it, and then that didn't pan out. So you got to see it before we did, and then you sent me a message saying this is not a date movie,
and then I left it at that.
And I was like, okay, well.
We'll see. Anyway. Yeah, you do it anyway.
Nobody tell me what to do.
So has your relationship survived that film?
Yeah, I'll say, like, if anything, it was strengthened by that.
Because you had to endure this ordeal.
Oh, there was a point in the... are we doing spoilers?
Let's say, yes, spoilers, but let's not spoil the ending.
Yeah, okay. So there's a very brutal... I think her name is Sarah.
Yeah, so you're talking her death?
Yeah, where she is just, and it starts with a jump scare, the shattering of the car window.
Beautifully shot, because you do see her coming.
Yep.
You see the killer coming just a second before, but then you also get the noise.
Yeah.
And
but it's not just a jump scare, because like when that happened, partner and I like just grabbed each other's hands and like squeezing,
Yeah.
but squeezing then for the next like 2 minutes.
It was probably, I would say it is easily the most brutal scene of horror I have seen, certainly in the post-COVID era, and it would be one of the most brutal I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I think because it is such a grounded film, like
Yeah.
you can kill people more brutally in, say, a Friday the 13th picture
Yeah.
or an Alien film, and there's that separation of it's kind of silly or it's very sci-fi, but because this is a very grounded film,
Yeah.
it has more impact. It is, I was in the fetal position. I curled up, I looked away from the screen.
Yeah.
I had the honor of seeing this in a fairly crowded cinema,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the best way to see this film.
Yeah.
It was a delight because you could hear everybody just going, oh,
Yeah.
and then I looked up at the wrong time and saw, because there is this cheeky moment where it stops, but then they sort of cut back to the corpse.
Yeah. And you see like no face there anymore.
Yep. There's just eyes, and I just went,
eyes
geez.
and teeth dislodged from.
Oh,
yeah.
It was horror, and I feel like it was all done in one take. And how the hell did they do that technically? There could have been 10 cuts though, because I wasn't looking.
Yeah.
But the impression I got is that it was so well done that there was no separation of cutting where this goes from a person to a prop.
No, it happens very smoothly.
Yeah. I don't want to analyze it to find out where it is though.
No, maybe on rewatch you find that there's a cutaway where we see a reaction shot or something like that, and that's where you do it. But no, it's not worth investigating at the moment because it's so well executed. And that movie does that. It's kind of, I mean, that's the big scare in that movie, I think. But there are so many moments of psychological torment.
Yep.
The audio for that movie is doing such heavy lifting, like because what's the girl's name now? Nikki just screams sometimes, and it is so terrifying. Like that movie is, by design, it is such a competent recreation of what it's like to be in an abusive relationship.
Oh yeah.
That this person that you're stuck here with is unpredictable and vaguely threatening, and you don't know what they're going to do, and that's how they want it.
Yeah, I've just got the 1,000-yard stare while you're talking. Yeah, it is so powerful. So, okay, quick premise: if anyone hasn't seen it, you've got one of those gimmick movies where it's like you can't make any noise, or if you look at this video, something will come to kill you in 7 days, or everyone who dies ends up with this big weird smile on their face, or buttons for eyes. There's that gimmick. And or Five Nights at Freddy's, the animatronics come alive at night. It's a gimmick.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it speaks to the young people, because that's targeted at younger people. But then there's some really intelligent stuff that goes with it, which we'll get to in a moment. Yeah. So premise is, the gimmick is you've got Bear, who is in love with Nikki, but I'll come back to that, and there's something important to say about that.
With an asterisk.
But this is what it appears at the beginning.
Yeah, this is...
He's in love with Nikki.
Yeah.
He feels he's in the friend zone, can't get out.
Yep.
So he says, he goes and buys a thing that grants a wish.
Yep.
I wish that she loves me more than anyone else in the world. And then it all goes pear-shaped from there.
Yep.
So superficially, it must be about, obsessed girlfriends and stuff like that. And that's what it seems like.
Yeah.
Until you actually watch the film.
And that's a very kind of, the inspiration for this, according to Curry Barker, was the episode of The Simpsons of the monkey's paw.
The monkey's paw.
And that's an old, like century-old premise.
Yep.
It's just, it is, be careful what you wish for.
Yes. But you know what I like, though, is the subtext is when he meets other people, because he eventually goes, because basically she turns into a psychotic girlfriend.
Yeah.
And he's like, help me, how do I get out of this? He's like, you got two options. Either you die or you find someone else to undo your wish.
Yeah.
So these are mass produced, and there's an unknown amount of these wishes.
Yeah.
But everyone can only get one wish.
Yeah, you get one.
And he says to the store owner, he's like, well, can you wish? He says, no, I already made mine. And he seems perfectly happy. So I love the underscore of that is like, they're not saying that every wish is cursed. because people are apparently happy. So
No,
some people his is
yeah.
the problem is with Bear,
Yeah.
not the monkey paw.
And I think in that way, the title of this film is very deliberate.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he doesn't really know Nikki.
No, he's in love with the idea
Yeah.
of Nikki. And it's really important to note that Nikki's put on a pedestal
Yeah.
at the start, but very, very clear. Like every time she's doing something,
Mm.
you get nice music, and we cut back to Bear looking
Yeah.
at her lovingly and wantingly.
Yeah, he's just fawning over her.
Right.
But
so she's an amazing person according to him.
yeah,
It's sort of unreliable narrated, not literally, but it's where the film is subtly telling us it's definitely his perspective.
yeah,
Because we learn things later, like that Nikki's maybe wasn't quite as good, not bad person, but just not.
no, she's been dabbling in drugs recently. She's
Yeah.
been having a exclusively physical relationship with Bear's friend off and on for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is breadcrumbed through the movie after the plot gets moving that like she knew that he had a thing for her and had discussed it with Sarah at least and said, no, I don't see him that way. He's my little brother.
Yeah.
And she even tries to give him an out. The night before he's like, if you like me, now's the time.
And he backs out.
Too cowardly to do it.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it. And I think this is why it speaks to the Gen Z, because he's a young man who's very nervous, and I think that would be very, very relatable. Like you and I'd hazard to say, are not in that target audience.
No.
But
we can remember being there.
We can remember being there.
And
it's
I think
a very relatable story.
That's it as well, is that like it is not just that he's cowardly, it is that he needs that obsession to give his life purpose.
Right.
He needs the illusion of Nikki.
Yep.
Because that's better than no Nikki.
Right. And what I love about this film is that he starts out pretty sympathetic.
Yeah.
But then it gradually turns, and then there's a point, which I guess we'll get to in a moment, where you go, oh, he's definitely the villain.
Well, he sucks.
Because superficially, Nikki's a threat. She's violent. She's terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, he goes to work, and then he comes back, and she spent the whole time smiling at the door. So she's covered in.
She's vomited on herself. Yeah, she's soiled herself several times over.
Yep.
And just stuck in this like rictus grin at the door, waiting for him to come home.
Yep. And he's even saying stuff to her like, can you can't do this, you can't do that, like this is too much. Oh, she's okay, I'll adjust. And so every morning she's like, oh yeah, sorry about that, and he starts to feel that maybe it's okay. You can see him trying to self-rationalize, but it is made explicitly clear that this is basically a possession film. And so at first we just go, Nikki's behavior's been changed, and she starts to glitch out a little bit. She digs up his dead cat to create a shrine because she thinks that that'll make him happy. So it's like, I mean, this is where I think there is a little bit of a subtle AI reference too, because we have in the background of this, you have the so-called manosphere, where you got men who are obsessed with
girlfriends.
And that's what she functionally is. And she even buggers it up at one point where she says, oh, I'm really sad because my cat died. And he's like, what? Oh, no, your cat died.
My cat, your cat, my dad.
Yeah, it's just making errors.
Yeah.
And then probably the creepiest sex scene I've ever seen. Where,
and I think that's the turn, is that like, oh, he has just raped this girl.
Yeah.
Like that's inexcusable.
Yeah. And there is some flexibility from redeemability of the characters. Like, he doesn't fully know yet, but you can see it's like they're having sex, and you can see that she's vocalizing, but you can see her utterly dead expression.
Yeah.
And so she's like shut down.
Yeah.
And just there to take it, basically. Yeah. And it's creepy and unsettling.
Yeah.
It's a very disturbing, because he can't see her expression.
Yeah.
So he's thinking, oh, this is great, she's enjoying it, and I'm with this girl that I love.
Well, and I think it's kind of just willful ignorance on his part.
Oh, definitely.
Point,
he definitely suspects. You can tell he's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And when she's acting erratically, I mean, there's a couple of times where she gets violent to herself.
Yeah.
And my interpretation, I didn't get it the first time, but by the second time she does it, and we get the other scene, which we'll come back to.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's the real Nikki taking over for a second.
I think
that was my impression. Did you get that impression?
No, I feel like that is the possessed Nikki hurting Nikki to try and get Bear to back down.
Oh, right.
or to
Okay.
try and to get a response from Bear. It
Be-
is that if I hurt myself, you need to protect me, and
okay.
which is it's more psychological manipulation.
Yeah, it could be because my feeling was when we're at the party where she's acting like a real weirdo, and she smacks herself in the head and her face is bleeding,
Hmm.
and she's like, "Oh, haha, I don't know why I did that." Right.
No,
So I feel like she
my
glitched.
read is a lot darker. It is that it's like when in a relationship that's not working, one of the partners threatens to kill themselves to get the
Right.
other person to back down or
Well,
to do what they.
either way, it's pretty damn disturbing.
It's bad. It's sorry, it's well done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
It's a
highly
very.
effective.
I think this movie is its thesis or its reason for being is to show what a psychologically abusive relationship looks and feels like.
Yeah.
Um,
But the fact that it's doing both sides here, where you've got she's manipulating him because she's basically a demon, really, not literally,
yeah,
but it's like a possessed
it's
exorcism kind of
she can't
tale.
leave. She is not allowed to leave. She's compelled by his wish. She needs to be there, and she needs him to love her back.
Yep,
Um, he can't leave because
she's so
initially
obsessed.
it's what he wants, and then it's he feels a sense of obligation to be there.
And then general safety, like when he
Yeah,
tries to leave, she freaks out and
yeah,
flips
will
out,
kill the people around him.
and ultimately she does kill someone
Yeah,
who when there's jealousy.
and so you end up with this codependent relationship where neither person wants to be in the relationship or is enjoying it.
Mm.
It's not what they initially wanted, but they are unable to leave.
Yeah, for in one case a deep character flaw because um, the scene that really where the other shoe drops and it makes it absolutely explicit what's going on is when he's trying to sneak out and he hears the real Nikki
Yeah,
calling out saying, "Don't wake her up,
yeah,
please kill me."
yeah,
And that's when it's stated clear, oh, she's still in there,
yeah,
she still knows what's going on. And then his response is, what's so bad about
yeah.
being with
Why
me?
is it so bad?
Why would you rather die
Than be with
than be
me?
with me? And then she says, I've never been with you. And instead of going, fair enough, I'll fix this, he just pisses
Yeah,
off. He has no intention
yeah.
of fixing the situation. So he now knows explicitly
He knows
that
what he's doing.
he knows exactly,
Yeah,
and he's making no attempt
yeah,
to rectify it. And then when you have the death of Sarah, and then Nikki comes around the other side of the car, and he is just traumatized.
yeah,
And she says, "It's okay, it's okay. This was kind of your
yeah.
fault,
You
though."
did this. You wanted this.
Yeah, you remember you wanted
There
this.
again, that is
Oh,
the language that an abuser uses. Why,
oh,
look what
yeah,
you made me do.
yep,
Is that's abusive speak.
yep. It's a good symbolic. Yeah, I'm not responsible for my
Yeah,
actions.
you made me do this.
Yeah.
Aren't you sorry now?
Oh, it's
Um,
so terrifying.
and yeah,
Ugh.
and I think that's maybe the cleanest read of this movie is
Yeah,
that it is. I don't even necessarily think gender roles are a huge component of it. I mean, they obviously are at least initially. It is first and foremost an investigation of abusive relationships.
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah,
the things about like it's also making comments about women being dehumanized because you
yeah,
have she's basically turned into a chatbot.
yeah,
But the fact that there's a human consciousness which is trapped adds to the evil nature of it.
yeah,
The final shot where we see Sarah is you just see her naked with a face removed. That's very symbolic of
yeah, yeah.
we
She's
only
been,
see you for your body,
yeah,
and this is done very purposefully where it's not in any way, shape, or form saying, "Oh yeah, this is how you should treat women." It's saying this is happening,
yeah,
this is real, and it's frigging horrible,
yeah,
and no one comes out of this unscathed. And I think it it nails it. It
yeah.
absolutely nails. I don't have any notes on this film as far as driving home the point of how damaging, toxic, bad, dangerous these things are.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's interesting to put it that way. I mean, yeah, it's this movie is based on a premise, an object that doesn't exist. The One Wish Willow doesn't exist, but this kind of relationship definitely exists.
It definitely does.
And it is a good, it's an educational tool. These are the warning signs. If you feel like
Yeah.
your partner is doing this sort of stuff to you, the performative displays of empathy, not
Yep.
genuine empathy,
Yep.
but like
When she does the fake smile and he's like, too much.
the fakes, but also like the getting the flowers in the middle of the night and like, oh,
Oh,
I got these for Sandy. And it's like, that's not normal behavior. You're doing that to get a response from me.
Yeah.
You're trying to manipulate me.
Yep. And he knows it, but he's still, yeah.
But yeah, he
Oh,
knows
man.
it, but it's also he is just desperate for any kind of attention from this.
Yeah,
What, even if it just looks like the character.
that's right. And I want to say, just as a well constructed horror scene, remember I said I don't want to spoil anything for you,
Yeah.
but here's the one scene where, and I gave you no context. I said
Yep.
there's a static shot where you know something's going on, you don't know what it is, and then what I loved about seeing it in cinema was because there's no movement even,
No.
and then some people will see and realize what's going on and go, oh, and then you'll hear a few more people a few seconds later go, oh,
Yep.
and then you'll see movement, and anyone who missed it is brought along for the ride.
Yeah.
Makes the audience work a bit. That scene was so well done.
Yeah, it is very well done.
Did you have that? Did you have a lot of people in the cinema when you saw that?
I think I'd say the cinema was 2/3 full.
Okay.
But no, there wasn't that recognition at all at that point. There was, when she speaks,
Yep.
there was the recognition, like, oh,
Yeah.
like you could hear that in the audience. No, it didn't have that response. But that scene works very, very well. Oh,
Yeah.
like there again, it's the best part about this movie, other than like it is such a ambitious horror movie.
Yes.
Is the performance from Nikki is incredible.
Absolutely amazing. The fact that she can switch so quickly.
Yeah.
And I think she'll have no problems at all getting future work.
No, I feel like if Amy Madigan, I think she won Best Supporting Actor for Weapons last year at the
Right.
Academy Awards. I would like it if the actress who plays Nikki
at least get a nomination.
Gets a nomination, because this is a incredible performance.
Yeah, if the Oscars ignore horror this year, then boy, they've missed a trick. Because last
Yeah.
year they acknowledged Weapons and
Sinners
got nominations and even some wins and victories. This has been a phenomenal year for horror.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's yet, I've got to let this all sit in, because, last year we basically said Sinners was our film of the year, Weapons was a contender. That's impressive.
Yeah.
And now I'm going, I don't know if any of these will be stand out my film of the year yet. Could be.
Yeah.
But there's a heck of a lot that are very, very noteworthy. And let's not forget that you had Bone Temple released at the start of the year.
Yeah.
And like I said, there was Iron Lung, which we hadn't seen, and so
Yeah.
on. So this so far, and we've got Robert Edgar's werewolf film.
I think that'll be early next year.
Oh,
it'll still
okay.
be open up for. Maybe it'll be a bit too late for Academy contention. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
But it depends. Marty Supreme got in over the line this year, and that was a late release. So maybe.
Okay, yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. But the run of horror, if the Oscars don't acknowledge it, they're missing a trick.
And also, what else are they gonna like? There's no. It might end up happening, but only because of the bankruptcy of the Hollywood Academy. Michael should not be getting nominated for anything, like the Michael Jackson biopic.
Oh yeah.
It probably will, though. They'll probably give a nod to the guy who plays Michael Jackson, just because he looks like Michael Jackson.
He's his nephew, apparently.
Yeah. What other big successful movies have there been that you give a nod to?
We haven't had a One Battle After the Other or Marty Supreme this year.
No.
So you'll have Dune Part 3, which might get some cinematography and stuff, whether it's actually wins or not.
Project Hail Mary should get some stuff.
Definitely, it'll be one of those one that's nominated extensively.
Yeah, I think
whether it wins
if it wins Best Picture, Best Director, whatever, I'd be very, very surprised. Ryan Gosling might get something for.
Yeah, I think Rocky the Puppet should get Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah, I'd be on board for that. Like because he's puppeted and voiced by the same actor.
Yeah, that could work.
I could.
But yeah, in the context of this year, the horror lineup is pretty phenomenal.
It's pretty stacked.
So for me, I would say Obsession is the pick of the bunch.
Yeah, I feel like for me, I can't really separate Obsession and Backrooms in terms of which I've enjoyed the most at this point. Like, they both have grown in my estimation since watching them. The more I think about them, the more they increase in value. Neither of them are my favorite movie of the year. But the more I think about them, the more I feel like, it had a lot more depth and craft put into it than I thought walking out of the cinema, and I enjoyed both of them walking out of the cinema.
Absolutely. My problem with with the Backrooms is basically because I've seen it before. You've got the dread of, I suppose, existential dread and what's going on in the world around me and all this sort of stuff. And I feel like because it's a young director aimed for a young audience, and I think that's why it's connected. Because if you haven't seen one of these sort of almost analytical films, like it analyzes who we are and how we function. If you haven't seen one before, this will blow your mind. I really think Backrooms could be the film of a generation. It's just that I've been around for 20 years too long and seen it done, not necessarily better, but at least as well in other places. And that diminished it a little bit for me. So while I say that takes the shine off it for me, I'm still saying it is a well-made film.
Yeah.
It's an interesting film. The fact that it's a young filmmaker. I mean, if you told me it was a 20-year-old with one film, as in if I didn't know that and you said that, I would have gone, no chance.
Yeah,
it's at least a 25 to 30-year-old and it's his second or third feature.
Yeah,
because it's definitely
very competently.
It's not perfect, so you can tell it's a young filmmaker, but gee, it's close. It's a very well made film. I highly respect it. I would like to revisit it because now that I know what it is, I'd like to see now that I know what else do I notice or feel or pick up.
Yeah,
but I could take it or leave it in my collection. Leviticus I'm glad I saw it. Probably wouldn't revisit it, but
that's how I feel about it.
What it represents as far as being a queer story, being an Australian film, and being really well done, good performances, blah blah blah, all great.
Yeah,
Obsession. I walked out thinking, I can't sit through that again in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And as time goes by, I'm going, no, I want that. I think it's going to be this year's Weapons for me, where Weapons was close to my pick of the year.
Yeah.
And there it is sitting in 4K Wonder on my shelf.
Yeah.
And I want that and I'm thinking I probably will want that with Obsession and want to revisit it, but it's a hard watch.
Yeah, it is. And I think Weapons is a good comparison. Only that like these two movies are incredibly ambitious. Yes. Weapons is ambitious in its structure.
Yep.
And the way it's kind of like a Rashomon, different stories being told from different perspectives that overlap, and Weapons is incredible.
Yes.
An Obsession is simple premise that is kind of a Halloween mask for a very real source of trauma.
Yep.
And I don't know, an incredible performance.
Yeah. I mean, everybody does well, but the lead of Nikki, oh my God, she's incredible. So there's, I mean, and also I should say, it's $750,000, but if you told me it was 2 or 3 million, I would have believed it.
It's a good looking movie.
Yeah.
It's the aspect ratio is maybe the only way you can tell that it's not
it's not
big
pristine.
Budget. It's not
that can be good. Like Weapons and Sinners, you could argue for horror films look too smooth.
Yeah.
Too pristine.
Yeah.
I think for Sinners it works because of its historical setting and you're trying to make it look impressive.
Sinners I don't think Sinners fits into this movement.
No, not at all. I agree. I mean, it was a $100 million film.
Yeah,
so you want it to look good.
And Ryan Coogler came from franchise filmmaking to this.
Whereas Weapons, if it was made for half the budget and was a bit, darker and rougher and not so smooth looking, it probably would have benefited the film. Not that it bothers me, because again, it was one of my favorite films of the year. I still love it. This film, you can definitely tell it's not that. It's not pristine. It's a little dark, but I think that suits it.
Yeah, and a lot of it's not natural lighting, but suits the mood that it's creating.
When Nikki's hiding in the corner, that's the scene we're referring to before, when Nikki's hiding in the corner of the room, she's like, go back to sleep. I just like watching you sleep. It's like, I'm just getting chills reliving that. And then when you do finally see her, she almost looks demonic because her face is distorted from the shadow.
There's a lot of good use of shadow and blocking in this movie. Like when we first, I think Nikki has just had the curse put on her, or the wish cast on her, and she is at Bear's door trying to talk her way in. Her face is not illuminated at all, but you can see reflections in her eyes. So it looks. She looks like a demon,
and it's thematically on scene too. Like she's been dehumanized from this, so she doesn't look quite human, and her body's still visible, and because that's the thing that he wants, basically. So it's thematically appropriate that it's dark like this. But man, I tell you, I've never been so terrified of somebody just holding a vase with flowers.
Yeah.
That she just has a vase, she can't see her face,
Yeah.
and he's just bricking it, laying in bed.
Yeah.
That whole sequence to me is what makes the film stand out, because it shows the chops of the horror, and it connects almost all the dots. The later film where the later scene where she's saying, "I'm still in here, kill me,"
Yeah.
is where you really drive the point home.
Yeah.
But when it fully establishes how messed up this situation is, it's that sequence, and how terrifying it is. So the fact that the next day he's still trying to self-rationalize.
Yeah, that's it. Is that
he's like,
this
"Are you
desperate idiot
insane?"
is still like, no, it's fine though, really.
Yeah, yeah.
And there again, it's, Weapons was, maybe not as single-mindedly as Obsession. Weapons was about, predators in a small community and the impact that has on one child and the impact that has spinning outwards from that point. Whereas Obsession is just about how being in that abusive relationship, how that works, the mechanisms of that working, and how a person can self-rationalize and be like, no, I did this to them. I need to be here to look after them. I'm responsible for this. And I mean, in that film, he is responsible for it. But that makes it so much more terrifying. Is that this happens to people?
Yeah, unless you can get someone to wish this away, the only way out is death, basically.
Yeah, you got to kill yourself to get out of this.
Oh man,
bleak as hell.
Bleak, very, very dark. Without spoiling the ending, I would say I thought the ending was perfect. It leans into, it goes very dark, pretty brutal.
It's very Romeo and Juliet, I thought.
Yep.
Which is, fitting.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it doesn't go like The Conjuring, where you suddenly have CG monsters flying around or anything like that. So it kind of goes pretty bonkers, but in a way that fits the rest of the film.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these films fail in the landing. And there was one criticism that some people had of Weapons, where the ending for Weapons cranks it up to 11, and you either bounce off that or you don't. And I think we both agreed we loved the ending.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
But that's a big risk.
Very deserved.
Yeah. It worked.
Yeah.
And I think if they went that far in Obsession, it wouldn't have worked.
No, it needed the ending that it had.
It locks in perfectly.
I would imagine that Curry Barker came up with the ending very early on in his drafting of that film. Like that's the only way that story can resolve.
Yeah.
In that particular sequence of events.
No one gets out of this unscathed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
this
is
needs
the point.
to end this way, where yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Any points for final summary? I've only got sort of one thing to wrap up with.
No, it's just a good time to like intelligent horror.
Yeah.
Be thankful you're alive now. You survived the 90s and early 2000s, where good horror movies were few and far between, and you had to get by on, you had to pretend the Saw movies had substance.
Yeah. Oof. That was a grim time.
Yeah. So it's a good time. We got to practice gratitude.
Yeah, that's the way.
Yeah.
Being present and enjoying.
Yeah. Practice mindfulness. And
whilst somebody's getting the head bashed into the steering wheel.
Yeah.
My point would be, if we just had our Jaws moment, then I can't wait for our Godfather Apocalypse moment. Apocalypse Now moment. It's like, where will these directors go next? I don't think the industry will pivot around them in the same way that they did back in the 70s with Spielberg and such, but it's the closest we're going to get, and I'm really excited to see what comes next.
And these are directors who have they've established a reputation for themselves now. They can do what they want, more or less. And so Jordan Peele is doing interesting things. He's producing good movies.
Yeah.
It'll be great to see what he directs next, because Nope is an incredible movie, and a larger scale thing than he had done previously. Zach Cregger from Weapons has got Resident Evil coming out later this year, which is a bigger thing than he has done. It's a property.
He might make the first good Resident Evil film.
That'd be nice. Yeah, Kane Parsons, I have no idea. I hope he doesn't do Backrooms forever. I would like him to do something. Yeah, Silent Hill is a good fit for him, but just anything.
Yeah.
And then Curry Barker, who's there again, his background is YouTube comedy. It'll be interesting to see what he does next because he's obviously very talented and thoughtful. It's great to, that this is new, relatively young talent. There's reasons to be optimistic about the film industry. To counter the reasons why it's fitting to be very pessimistic about like the way major studios are operating these days and the money being burned at the altar of established and dying franchises.
Yeah, which comes back to, like I said, in the 60s, these films were taking off because they were still making these big epics and big musicals that nobody wanted to see.
Yeah, and like we'll end up with an underperforming Avengers movie at the end of the year, I'd wager.
It could be the Cleopatra, the $44 million movie, which in today's dollars is like spending over $300 million on making a film. Yeah. That'll be one of those, I reckon. And that was the 50s, but that was Cleopatra is the pinup for studios don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
And over the next decade, things just topple.
Yeah.
So I wonder if one of the Avengers will be one of those, but we shall see.
We will find out in the next 6 months, I guess.
Yeah.
This next one needs to be huge because it's been a long time and they've pulled out every trick to rekindle some interest. And if it doesn't 100% work, that's a sign that they've got nothing fresh to work with.
Yep, because there's no plan B, really.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if they crash and burn, I wouldn't be upset.
No, that's fine.
Because there'll always be the A24s and Blumhouses to keep other films happening and being released in cinema.
If it's not those specific people, it will be other people.
Yeah.
There will always be a need for this. It's just whether the money is there to fill the need.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, I think that summed it up pretty well. Prestige horror and...
Yeah, it's a brief chat about prestige horror. Yeah.
Our usual going off on tangents.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think we'll return soon. We got some more episodes lined up. So look forward to those chats as well. But thank you once again, Nate.
Thank you so much.